Otto von Guericke is a very cool guy. If you've not heard of him, he was a German scientist and the chief magistrate of Magdeburg. And what makes him so special is the fact that he used his scientific skills to help save his city. To provide a little backstory, in 1631, a terrible event happened. It was called the Sack of Magdeburg. Now, this was a massacre that saw 20,000 of the city's 25,000 inhabitants killed. Yep, 20,000 or 25,000. And to go with this, 1,700 of the 1,900 buildings were also destroyed. It was part of the 30 Years' War, which is one of the bloodiest fought in European history. Now, without going into too much detail about it, it was a war of religion and was linked to the 16th century Reformation that took place across Europe. So it was the Catholics and the Protestants fighting each other. The Holy Roman Empire was on one side and was backed by the Spanish Empire and Bavaria, and pretty much everyone else in Europe was on the other side, with the French being the driving force. 8 million people died in the war, and Germany was especially hard hit. Parts of the country seeing population declines of up to 50%. Guericke's city, as said, even worse. And of course, he wanted to do something about this. He basically wanted to rebuild his city. And this led him to, in 1646, become the city's chief magistrate with the mandate of rebuilding the city's population and its wealth and prestige. But the question he was left with was how to go about doing this. And his answer was genius. He elected to lean heavily on his scientific endeavors in the hopes that success on this front would boost the prestige of the city's scientific community, and through this help rebuild the city's wealth and its prestige. And his hopes proved well founded. This is because in 1654, in front of Emperor Ferdinand III, who ruled the Holy Roman Empire, Guericke presented the Magdeburg Hemispheres. These were made of copper, were 50 centimeters in diameter, and had a valve which Guericke would attach a vacuum pump to, which he had invented. Yep, Guericke is the man who invented the vacuum pump, and he invented it for a very specific reason: to suck the air out of the hemispheres so he could prove just how powerful air pressure was. In terms of how his vacuum pump works, sort of like a syringe. To explain what I mean by that, Guericke would put the two hemispheres together, attach the hose from the vacuum pump to the valve. He would then, just as you would a syringe, suck the air out of the hemispheres before finally shutting the valve. The genius of this was it allowed him to demonstrate the power of air pressure. This is because once the air had been sucked out, the hemispheres would be held together entirely by air pressure alone. So no attachments, no nothing. You can of course imagine just how astounded people would be by seeing such a sight. Two things held together by fresh air. And to prove to the emperor just how powerful this fresh air was, Guericke attached ropes to the two hemispheres and then had 15 horses connected to each side, making for a total of 30 horses. Yep, 30. And the crazy thing is, those horses then tried to pull the hemispheres apart, but they couldn't. The reason being, air pressure is that strong, which Guericke proved. In fact, it's estimated it would take about 20 kilonewtons to separate Guericke's spheres, which is about the strength needed to lift a car. Crazy, I know, which is why the emperor and all were mind blown by this experiment. Needless to say, Guericke was a revolutionary, and his invention of the vacuum pump, along with the evidence he provided for the strength of air pressure, continued to change the world to this day. Even when it comes to the weather, even when it comes to flying, our understanding of both are rooted in his discovery of the strength of air pressure. And if you're wondering, his immense success did help him rebuild and restore his city. Not as much as he perhaps would have liked. It took until the 18th century for its population to recover, and it unfortunately never achieved free imperial city status, something he fought his whole life for. But even still, it's fair to say that without his efforts, the city would have fared a lot worse, which means Guericke was a man of both scientific genius and a man who saved his city, which makes him a hell of a guy. That's all from me. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, remember to give it a like and subscribe to my channel, because the more who do so, the more of these short histories I can make. Is that a good bribe? I hope it is. I'll see you next time.